Euroscepticism is criticism of and strong opposition to the European Union. Traditionally, the main source of Euroscepticism has been the notion that integration weakens the nation-state, and a desire to slow, halt or reverse integration within the EU. Other views often held by Eurosceptics include perceptions of a democratic deficit in the European Union or a belief that it is too bureaucratic. Euroscepticism should not be confused with anti-Europeanism, which refers to the rejection of the culture of Europe and Europeanization, and sentiments, opinions and discrimination against European ethnic groups. A Eurobarometer survey of EU citizens in 2009 showed that support for membership of the EU was lowest in Latvia, the United Kingdom, and Hungary. By 2016, the countries viewing the EU most unfavorably were Greece, France, Spain and the UK. Euroscepticism is found in political parties across the political spectrum. However, the rise in populist right-wing parties in Europe is strongly linked to a rise in Euroscepticism in the continent. In recent years, Eurosceptic movements across the continent have seen significant influxes in popular support, most notably illustrated through the United Kingdom withdrawal from the European Union. Global outlook. While having some overlaps, Euroscepticism and anti-Europeanism are different. Anti-Europeanism has always had strong influence in American culture and American exceptionalism, which sometimes sees Europe on the decline or as a rising rival power, or both. Some aspects of Euroscepticism in the United Kingdom have been mirrored and parroted by US authors. Terminology. There can be considered to be two different types of Eurosceptic thought, which differ in the extent to which adherents reject European integration and in the reasons for doing so. Alex Shadsabiak and Paul Taggart describe these as hard and soft Euroscepticism. Hard Euroscepticism. Hard Euroscepticism is the opposition to membership of, or the existence of, the European Union as a matter of principle. The Europe of Freedom and Direct Democracy group in the European Parliament, typified by such parties as the United Kingdom Independence Party, is hard Eurosceptic. In Western European EU member countries, hard Euroscepticism is currently a hallmark of many anti-establishment parties. Soft Euroscepticism. Soft Euroscepticism is support for the existence of, and membership of, a form of European Union, but with opposition to specific EU policies, and opposition to a federal Europe or a European superstate. Soft Euroscepticism occurs where there is no objection to European integration or EU membership on principle, but where concerns on one of policy areas lead to the expression of qualified opposition to the EU, or where there is a sense that national interest is at odds with the EU's trajectory. The European Conservatives and Reformists group, typified by centre-right parties such as the British Conservative Party, a Czech Civic Democratic Party, along with the European United Left, Nordic Green Left, which is an alliance of the left-wing parties in the European Parliament, is soft Eurosceptic. Other terms. Some scholars consider the gradual difference in terminology between hard and soft Euroscepticism inadequate to accommodate the large differences in terms of political agenda. Therefore, hard Euroscepticism has also been referred to as Europhobia as opposed to mere Euroscepticism. Other alternative names for hard and soft Euroscepticism include withdrawalist, respectively reformist Euroscepticism. Some hard Eurosceptics such as UKIP prefer to call themselves Eurorealists rather than skeptics, and regard the position as pragmatic rather than in principle. Additionally, Additionally, Tony Benn, a left-wing Labour MP who fought against European integration in 1975 by opposing membership of the European Common Market in that year's referendum on the issue, emphasized his opposition to xenophobia and support of democracy, saying, "My view about the European Union has always been not that I am hostile to foreigners, but that I am in favor of democracy. I think the building an empire that they want is to be a part of their empire, and I don't want that." The Czech President Václav Klaus rejected the term Euroscepticism with its purported negative undertones, saying that the expressions for a Eurosceptic and their opponent should be a Euro-realist and someone who is Euro-naive, respectively. François Asselineau of the French Popular Republican Union has criticized the use of the term skeptic to describe hard Eurosceptics and would rather advocate the use of the term Euro-opponent. However, he believes the use of the term skeptic for soft Eurosceptics to be correct, since other Eurosceptic parties in France are merely criticizing the EU without taking into account the fact that the Treaty on the Functioning of the European Union can only be modified with a unanimous agreement of all the EU member states, something he considers impossible to achieve. Eurobarometer Survey 2012. A survey in 2012 conducted by TNS Opinion and Social on behalf of the European Commission showed that, for the European Union overall, those who think that their country's interests are looked after well in the EU are now in a minority. Those with a positive image of the EU are down from a high of 52% in 2007 to a low of 31% in May 2012. This compares with 28% with a negative image of the EU, and 39% with a neutral image. About 31% of EU citizens tend to trust the European Union as an institution, and about 60% do not tend to trust it. Trust in the EU has fallen from a high of 57% in 2007 to 31% in 2012, while trust in national governments has fallen from 43% in 2007 to 28% in 2012. So the EU has moved from enjoying much more trust than national governments in 2007 to a position of enjoying only slightly more trust than national governments in 2012. Trust in the EU is lowest in the United Kingdom and highest in Bulgaria. Trust in national governments in these two countries is 21% and 28% respectively. History in the European Parliament. A study analyzed voting records of the Fifth European Parliament and ranked groups, concluding, towards the top of the figure of the more pro-European parties, whereas towards the bottom of the figure of the more anti-European parties. In 2004, 37 members of the European Parliament from the UK, Poland, Denmark and Sweden founded a new European Parliament group called Independence and Democracy, from the old Europe of Democracies and Diversities group. The main goals of the ID group were to reject the proposed treaty establishing a constitution for Europe. Some delegations within the group, notably the United Kingdom Independence Party, also advocate the complete withdrawal of the country from the EU, whilst others only wish to limit further European integration. 2009 elections. The elections in 2009 saw a significant drop in some areas in support for Eurosceptic parties, with all MEPs from Poland, Denmark and Sweden losing the seats. However, in the UK, the Eurosceptic United Kingdom Independence Party achieved second place in the elections, finishing ahead of the governing Labour Party, and the British National Party won its first ever 2 MEPs. Although new members joined the ID group from Greece and the Netherlands, it was unclear as to whether the ID group would reform in the new parliament. The ID group did reform, as the Europe of Freedom and Democracy, and is represented by 32 MEPs from 9 countries. 2014 elections. The elections in 2014 saw a big anti-establishment vote in favor of Eurosceptic parties taking around 25% of the seats available. Those who won the national elections include UKIP in the UK, National Front in France, the People's Party in Denmark, SYRIZA in Greece, and second place is taken by Sinn Féin in Ireland and Five Star Movement in Italy. Following the election, European Council President Herman Van Rompuy agreed to re-evaluate the economic areas agenda and to launch consultations on future policy areas with the 28 member states.